For the debate, the honourable member for Beaches East York.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I stand in support of this bill, and I stand in support of the Ombudsman. In my 10 years, or nearly 10 years in this House, I have seen the Ombudsman do remarkable service to the people of this province. When a government was trying to hide all the problems with MPAC, remember all the people who had their property assessments and couldn't get any satisfaction from the government? It was the Ombudsman who came in and investigated the complaints and found out that things were absolutely wrong. It was the Ombudsman who made the 12 or 15 recommendations which the government eventually had to say were right. The government wasn't listening to the opposition. The government wasn't listening to the people, but the government had to listen to the Ombudsman. And when there were all the problems with people having to give their children up to children's aid who were disabled in order that they could get services, it was the Ombudsman who investigated that, who chastised the government, and who made it right, so that parents no longer had to live in fear of having their children cut off the very services that they needed in order, and had to give them up for adoption or to the Children's Aid Society and not look after themselves. It was the Ombudsman who did this. And the Ombudsman has done this service for us countless times in jurisdiction after jurisdiction over which the Ombudsman had control. And this bill says that that good service, that service to the people of Ontario, to the people who have no other recourse save and except the courts, which are expensive, save and except their MPP, who often does not have the resources or the wherewithal to individually look at it, that, they're saying, and they need an Ombudsman, they need someone to go to. And I'm saying to my friend from Trinity Spadina, he's right. And I'm saying to my friend from Willowdale, you're not right. You are not right when you say that there are other bodies who can look at these things, because no other body in the entire province has had the same force and effect as the Ombudsman, save and except perhaps the auditor. And those are the two people that the government fears. Not just this government, but the government before them who were Conservative, and not just the Conservatives, but the government before them that was NDP, because those two institutions can look at things that no one else can do and can make reports that no one else can make. So to stand up, as my learned friend did from Willowdale, and say that there are other institutions and it's bureaucracy upon bureaucracy and bureaucracy is simply not correct. It is something that I think was beneath what his usual capable level of debate in this place. We all know that there are little tiny boards with minuscule powers who can investigate maybe over many years and come to no conclusions. We all know that. But there is only one group or two groups that have the kind of force and effect that the people of this province need. The Premier often says, let the sun shine in. That's all this is going to do. Let the sun shine in. And I, for one, being a member of this legislature, want it to shine in. I want it to shine in if it embarrasses government side, the opposition side, the bureaucratic side, the many boards and committees side of government. I want it to shine in because we have an obligation to each and every person who sent us here as electors to speak on their behalf and to do for them what they cannot do for themselves. That's what government is all about. Now, my friend from Trinity Spadina, that his bill will allow the Ombudsman into Ontario's hospitals, long-term care facilities, retirement homes, school boards, and children's aid societies, and that he alone, the Ombudsman, has the investigative powers, the resources, the independence, and the experience to resolve complaints and fix problems. And on that he is absolutely right. Just want to talk about some of these institutions. The first is hospitals. Hospitals need an independent, effective oversight mechanism to deal with individual and systemic issues in health care. Hospitals, every single person in this room has been and has used a hospital, probably all of us in the last year or two. We go there when we break our arms, we go there when we fall down, we go there when something goes wrong with our health, we go there when we simply need something investigated that is beyond the scope of our local health care practitioner. And yet we have no ombudsman if something goes wrong. Some of the hospitals have individual ombudspeople, but they cannot investigate and probably will not investigate beyond the scope that is given to them by the local board. And Ontario is the only province that does not let the Ombudsman have a look at this. I have to wonder why. If every other province said this is necessary, if every other province is not afraid of the Ombudsman looking, why are we? Why do we have members who stand up and say this is bureaucracy upon bureaucracy upon bureaucracy? No, it's not. It's someone who feels aggrieved and that something has been done wrong to them. They have a place to go if it's not resolved within the hospital itself. This is going to open it up to people who often don't have an opportunity to talk for themselves. In terms of students at school, for school boards. You know, there are some brave school board trustees and school boards across this province that want the Ombudsman to investigate themselves. I'm speaking here particularly about the Blue Water School Board. That's for those who might be watching on television, that's the area around Sarnia. They have voted in support of Bill 183, and they did so I think just a day or two ago.
May the 3rd.
May the 3rd, a couple of days ago, they voted in favor of Bill 183. And they said, please investigate if we are doing something wrong. Our children are too precious. The parents who want the best for their children need the Ombudsman to take a look. Children's aid societies. I used to be a member of the Toronto Children's Aid Society. I was Council's representative during the time of Metropolitan Toronto Council when I was the mayor for some 5 years, and a few years after that when the mega city of Toronto came about. And I know that this is a difficult job. I know the workers have a difficult job. I know that the board tries its very best. But there are failures and failings of even the people who try their very best. There are failures and failings, and they need to be able to be policed, to be looked at. They need to have a body who can say, these procedures that you have adopted are not the right procedures. They have to have that. And I am not afraid of the Ombudsman going in looking there, even though I used to be a board member. I welcome it. And so do hundreds and thousands of people who have been dealt with by children's aid societies across this province, either as parents or children themselves, or people having to give their children up for adoption or who've had them taken away from them. They need someone to stand up and look to see whether justice has been done. Long-term care facilities. We have an aging population. We have tens of thousands or maybe 100,000 people who live in these long-term care facilities, and if they don't live there now, they soon will. Our population is aging very quickly, and they virtually have no one to speak for them save and except their families. And sadly, so sadly, many of the families after a time don't come back. I know when my own mother-in-law was in a long-term care facility, I would go to see her once or twice every week. It was close to my home so that she would have company and someone she knew. But when I sat down amongst the other people who were there, they hadn't had a visitor, some of them in weeks or months, some of them sadly even in years. And if they don't have someone to stand up for them, and all they had was the staff, if they don't have someone who can come in and say the facilities here are wrong and there needs to be some improvements like an ombudsman, then they are going to continue to sit there in their soiled diapers, without a bath, without all of the necessary food that they need, living and watching television that they don't understand, without any activities. And it's only an ombudsman who can help them. Certainly a group like the Royal Canadian Legion, of which I am proud to be a member, is on board on this. They think the ombudsman should be involved because so many of their members, so many of those brave men and women who fought for us at the Second World War and in Korea are now in that circumstance, and they know they need an ombudsman. Now, I want to leave a little bit of time left for my friend who introduced the motion, but I want to say to the members opposite, do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. Vote for this motion. Stand up. I mean, there's only 3 or 4 weeks left, but stand up today and say you're not afraid of it. Let's make this an issue in the next election. Let's talk about giving the Ombudsman extra authority from all parties. Let's talk about this so that we do a service to the people of this province and that we make sure that there is someone to whom every citizen in this wonderful province can go in time of need, someone who can stand up, someone who can speak on behalf of everyone. And when governments or institutions or agencies don't do it right, they will be remedied. And I ask all members to support the bill from the member from Trinity Spadina. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.